Below is a reimagined version of the story, adjusted to approximately 25,000 characters, with altered names and some modified details while preserving the core narrative and emotional arc. The structure remains similar, but the setting, dialogue, and specific events have been tweaked to create a fresh yet familiar tale. The names have been changed, and the location is now set in a different town to provide a new backdrop. I stood by the front door, my suitcase packed and ready, anticipation buzzing in my chest as I prepared to board a flight with my daughter, Emily, for our long-awaited vacation. My phone vibrated on the hall table, interrupting my thoughts of cobblestone streets and sunny cafes. I was folding my favorite navy travel jacket, smoothing its creases, imagining wearing it to a charming trattoria Emily had mentioned near the Colosseum. My suitcase sat open on the living room floor, brimming with clothes I'd chosen for our European adventure. The weather app promised clear skies in Rome, ideal for the walking tours I'd meticulously planned, their itineraries tucked into my carry-on. I'd been humming a classic Nat King Cole song, debating between my black loafers and sturdy walking shoes. The tickets to Leonardo da Vinci Fiumicino Airport rested on the table beside my passport, both pristine and ready. 7 hours until takeoff. My heart thrummed with the familiar excitement of travel, tinged with the nervous energy of a grand adventure. Then my phone buzzed again. Emily's name lit up the screen. I set the jacket aside, expecting a last-minute reminder about our airport rendezvous or a question about packing. Instead, the message stopped me cold. "You're not coming to Europe with us. My husband wants this to be a family-only vacation." I read it once. Then again, my finger hovering over the screen as if staring might rewrite the words. The scarf I'd been about to pack dangled in my hand, forgotten, as my mind grappled with the phrase family only. I was her father. I'd planned this trip, bought the tickets, researched hotels, and spent late nights crafting an itinerary. What did family only mean when it excluded me? I sank onto the couch, the suitcase still open beside me, my hands trembling as I typed a single word in response. Okay. Disappointment settled into my bones like a heavy fog. I surveyed the living room, now a museum of abandoned plans, the travel-sized toiletries on the coffee table, the guidebooks with blue sticky notes marking museums and piazzas. The new camera I'd bought for this trip, still sealed in its box. I zipped the suitcase shut, each click of the locks sounding like a door closing. Then I called the airline, enduring hold music as I cancelled my ticket. The representative was kind but brisk. "I'm sorry your plans changed, Mr. Harper," she said, and I wondered if she sensed the weight in my silence. I sat in my quiet living room, staring at travel brochures scattered across the oak coffee table. The house felt hollow, the silence broken only by the distant bark of Mr. Callahan's terrier across the street. I picked up a glossy pamphlet about Venetian canals and set it aside, the gesture small but heavy. Evening crept in, the emptiness of the day lingering like an uninvited guest. I left my dinner plate in the sink, a break from my usual habit of washing dishes immediately. The TV droned with a news segment I barely registered. Restless, I grabbed my phone, hoping for distraction. I scrolled through social media, Mrs. Larson's garden photos, a recipe post from my hiking group, local election debates I skipped. Then I saw it, a photo of Greg's parents, Emily's in-laws, posing in front of the Trevi fountain, their smiles wide and triumphant. The caption read, "Kicking off the ultimate family vacation." Posted 3 hours ago. My thumb froze. Maybe it was an old photo. Maybe they were on a separate trip. My pulse quickened as I clicked their profile. Another photo loaded, Greg's parents, Greg and Emily, laughing at a Roman cafe, gelato cups on the table. Emily's caption twisted the knife. "So thankful for family time in the eternal city." I counted the faces 4, the word family seared my mind. I set the phone down, the screen still glowing with their joy. I paced to the kitchen window, staring at the warm lights of my neighbor's house, where families gathered for dinner. Betrayal washed over me in waves, each one sharper than the last. I picked up the phone again, hoping I'd misread, but the photos remained, their timestamps fresh, their smiles unapologetic. The 4 of them in the city I'd dreamed of exploring, living the vacation I'd planned. I saw my reflection in the window, pale and hollow-eyed, overlaid with their happy image on the phone screen. The contrast was brutal, a stark reminder of my place in their family. Sleep eluded me that night, their photos haunting my dreams. Morning brought grey light through my curtains, and I knew I needed answers. My coffee mug trembled as I sat at the kitchen table, rehearsing my words. It was afternoon in Rome, perfect for a call. I dialed Emily's number, the international ringtone sounding expensive and distant. She answered after 5 rings, her voice bright. "Hey, Dad." I heard Greg's laughter in the background, the clink of glasses, the hum of a bustling street. "I need to talk," I said, cutting to the point. "About what?" she asked, distracted. "I saw the photos. Greg's parents are with you." A long pause. "Dad, we can explain. You said it was family only. What am I?" Her tone hardened. "Greg thought you'd be too much. He didn't want the trip overshadowed." Too much. The words stung like a slap. I planned this trip. I paid for it. Greg's parents paid their own way. They don't expect us to cater to them all the time. All the time, the accusation hung between us. "I supported you both," I said, my voice tight. "We didn't ask for a guilt trip," she snapped. Greg's carefree laughter echoed again, oblivious to our tension. "Honestly, Dad," Emily continued, her voice cold, "Greg was right. You're too dependent." The phone felt like a brick in my hand. "I see. Good, we'll talk when we're back." "Understood." I hung up, the word dependent echoing like a curse. I wandered to my study, surrounded by family photos. Me teaching Emily to swim, her high school graduation, her wedding where I'd walked her down the aisle, beaming with pride. My reflection in the glass showed a man hardened by betrayal. I straightened a photo frame, the small act feeling like a reclaiming of something lost. The photos told a story I was only now understanding. The wedding I'd funded $35,000 for every detail to make Emily's day perfect. Her college tuition I'd covered when Greg struggled post-graduation. The house I'd bought for them when banks rejected their mortgage. Holiday dinners where Greg barely spoke to me. Birthday gifts opened without thanks. Each memory added weight to my chest. I pulled out bank statements from my desk drawer, $90,000 for their house down payment, my retirement savings, car loans I'd paid when Greg was laid off, credit card bills I'd settled during their rough patches, the vacation fund I'd drained for their tickets. But it wasn't just money. I'd cancelled a hiking trip with friends to help Emily move. I'd declined a date with a kind woman from my book club because Emily needed me. My own dreams travel, hobbies shelved to support theirs. The pattern was blindingly clear. I stacked the photos face down, unable to face them. Dependent. The word mocked me. I saw my reflection in the desk mirror, a man who'd mistaken generosity for love and been repaid with manipulation. I opened my laptop, my bank account dashboard glaring back. Emily and Greg were authorized users on my accounts, access I'd granted out of trust. My finger hovered over the Remove User button, but I closed the laptop, the decision too raw for impulse. Then my phone pinged with a bank alert. I opened it, expecting a utility bill. Instead, transaction 320, Trattoria Roma, Rome, Italy. Time stamped 2 hours ago. Lunchtime in Rome. Emily had used my card. I'd given her access years ago for emergencies, back when I thought I was helping her build a future. The irony burned. They'd excluded me, but used my money for their Roman feasts. I scrolled through recent charges, hotel bills, boutique purchases, museum tickets, all on my card, while Greg's parents paid their own way. I paced the study, each photo on the wall now evidence of exploitation. Another alert, 95, Moda Roma Boutique. Emily was shopping while I sat alone, reeling from their betrayal. That sealed it. I opened the banking app, navigated to authorized users, and stared at Emily's name. My finger trembled over Remove. Years of fatherly support clashed with the truth of their manipulation. The confirmation prompt appeared. "Are you sure? This action cannot be undone." I clicked yes. Access revoked. A wave of control washed over me, unfamiliar but empowering. I set the phone down, catching my reflection in the laptop screen. For the first time in days, I smiled. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table, savoring my coffee and the morning paper's local festival coverage. My phone rang insistently, an international number. I checked the time, 8:30 a.m. here, 3:30 p.m. in Rome. I let it ring 3 times before answering. "Morning, Emily," I said calmly. "Dad, what did you do to the card?" Her voice was sharp, no greeting. "I removed your access." "You can't do that. It was declined at a restaurant in front of Greg's parents." The waiter kept coming back. It was humiliating. "That sounds awkward," I said, sipping my coffee. "Awkward. It was mortifying. Fix it now." "Why do you need my card? I thought you didn't want me catering to you." "That's different," she shrieked. "Is it?" Silence. I heard Greg muttering in the background. Emily returned, venomous. "Fix this, or there'll be consequences." "Like what?" "Greg and I have been discussing options. When we're back, we're looking into care homes." "You're getting old, Dad. You can't manage your money properly. We'll sell your house to cover it." My coffee cup froze mid-air. "Care homes? Selling my home?" "Greg says it's for your own good," she added, his voice audible in the background. The audacity was staggering. They wanted to institutionalize me for cutting off their vacation funds. "I heard you," I said. "So you'll fix it?" "No." "What?" "Enjoy your family vacation." I hung up, my hands steady as I set the phone down. I gazed out at my tidy yard, the house I'd paid off over 25 years. My name alone on the deed. The house they thought they could sell. I walked to my study, pulling out the deed not for my home, but for Emily and Greg's house on Cedar Lane. My name on the title, as it had been since I'd bought it for them 3 years ago. "Just for the mortgage, Dad," Emily had said. "We'll transfer it later." They'd never gotten around to it, always too busy. I found Laura Bennett's card in my desk, my realtor, a sharp woman with a knack for discretion. I grabbed my keys and headed out. The drive to Laura's office wound through the familiar streets of Ashwood, Ohio. Mrs. Callahan waved from her porch as I pulled out, her smile a reminder of the normalcy this morning mimicked. 25 minutes later, I parked at Bennett Realty, a sleek office in a renovated brick building. Laura greeted me warmly. "Tom, good to see you. How's retirement?" "I need to sell the Cedar Lane property, fast." She paused, reading my expression. "The house you bought for Emily?" "Yes, everything's fine. Just need it sold." "Market's strong," she said, pulling up data. "Houses like that are going for 190,000, maybe 200,000. How fast?" "As soon as possible. Price it to sell." We discussed logistics photos, staging, inspections. "The house is occupied," I noted. "Will Emily coordinate showings?" "She's in Europe. I have keys." Laura nodded, professional as ever. I signed the listing agreement, my signature steady. "I'll start marketing today," she said. "We could have offers by the weekend." I left her office feeling unburdened, the classical music on my car radio a fitting soundtrack. Driving through Ashwood, I passed a young family at a crosswalk, the parents laughing with their kids. I remembered Emily at that age, before money and manipulation tainted our bond. Back home, I saw my mailbox, Harper painted in chipped letters, a name that felt reclaimed. Inside, an email confirmed. Property listed successfully. Satisfaction surged, but there was more to do. I searched for local moving services, settling on Miller's Family Moving, a small outfit with solid reviews. I called, hoping for personal service. "Miller's Moving, this is Jeff," a gruff voice answered. "I need help moving belongings tomorrow. Time sensitive." "How time sensitive?" "Tomorrow morning. Full house to storage." I gave Emily's address. "Got a storage unit?" Jeff asked. I hadn't thought of that. "Try Ashwood Secure Storage," he suggested. "I'll get their number." Soon I had Karen from storage on a 3-way call. "For a house, you'll need a 10x30 unit," she said. 130, first month up front. "I'll take it." We finalized details. Jeff's crew would start at 7:30 a.m. "Residents are out of town," I added. "I'd like it done before they return." "Family matter?" Jeff asked, his tone neutral. "Something like that." "I get it. We'll be discreet." After paying for storage online, I cooked dinner with newfound appetite, setting my alarm for 6 a.m. I laid out old work clothes, jeans and boots from my engineering days before I'd become a bank for others' dreams. That night, brushing my teeth, I saw a man in the mirror, ready to reclaim his life. I arrived at Cedar Lane at 7:15 a.m., the house looking more like a transaction than a home. Jeff's truck idled out front, his crew unloading gear. Jeff, a burly man in his 60s, shook my hand. "Mr. Harper, let's do this." I unlocked the door, the house silent. We toured the rooms, Jeff noting furniture and boxes. 4 hours tops, he said. I insisted on helping, ignoring his liability concerns. "I'm not that old," I quipped, earning a chuckle from his crew. We started in the bedrooms, packing Emily's books and Greg's golf clubs. In their closet, I found their wedding album. I flipped through, noticing my absence in most shots. Greg's family front and center, me relegated to the margins. I handed it to Jeff's crew. Room by room, we cleared items I'd funded. The sectional I'd bought for their housewarming, Greg's high-end gaming setup, Emily's designer clothes. My knees ached, but purpose drove me. In a spare room, I found a crib they'd assembled for a future child. Doubt flickered. Was I too harsh? Then I found Greg's bank statements, showing luxury purchases while they pleaded poverty to me. Doubt vanished. "You good, Mr. Harper?" Jeff asked, noticing my pause. "Just memories. Keep going." By 11 a.m., the house was empty, sunlight glaring off bare floors. I locked up, following the truck to storage, where Emily and Greg's life filled Unit 52C. I paid Jeff cash, tipping generously. "Hope it works out," he said, sincere. Driving home, my phone buzzed with a social media alert, a hint that my quiet morning was about to get louder. At home, I checked my phone. Emily's furious post. Some people have no shame, disrespecting family boundaries. Comments showed friends sympathizing, Emily playing the victim. I closed the app and called Laura. "Tom, we have a buyer," she said. "Cash offer, $195,000. Young couple, relocating for work. They want to close this weekend. Can you make it happen? Paperwork's ready tomorrow." The next morning, I signed at the title company, meeting the buyers, Daniel and Claire Evans, a hopeful couple in their 30s. "The backyard's perfect for our kids," Claire said during the walkthrough. I didn't mention it wasn't my yard. The bank confirmed $195,000 minus fees, netting $180,000, a tidy profit from the $140,000 I'd paid. Saturday, I drove by Cedar Lane, seeing a moving truck in the drive. Daniel and Claire directed movers, a toddler's tricycle already on the lawn. My phone rang an international number. I answered as a taxi pulled up. Emily emerged, jet-lagged but alert, spotting the truck. Greg followed, confusion turning to panic. "What are you doing in our house?" Greg demanded of Daniel, who held up his deed. "We closed yesterday." Emily saw me, her face cycling through shock, realization and rage. "Dad, what's happening?" I approached, an envelope in hand. The house was sold. It was mine. "Yours?" Greg sputtered. "Check the deed. It was never in your names." "You can't sell our home," Emily shrieked. "I sold my property," I said calmly. Daniel whispered to Claire, who eyed us warily. "Go inside," I told them. "This isn't your concern." Greg tore open the envelope. "Storage Unit 52C, Ashwood Secure Storage. Your belongings are safe. First month's paid." "This is insane," Greg yelled. "Family doesn't do this." "Family doesn't exclude fathers from vacations." Emily's voice turned pleading. "How could you do this to me?" I met her gaze. "How could you do this to me?" Claire reappeared, concerned. "Everything okay?" "Fine," I said. "Enjoy your home." Emily and Greg stood on the sidewalk, luggage in hand, lost in a life no longer theirs. I walked to my car, boots firm on the pavement. "This isn't over," Greg shouted. I started the engine, jazz filling the cabin. "Yes, it is." 4 months later, a process server delivered Emily and Greg's lawsuit. I signed without surprise. By noon, my lawyer called. "Dismissed. You had every right to sell. They owe their own legal fees." The Ashwood Gazette ran a brief story. Local property dispute resolved. Gossip swirled at the diner. "Greg always seemed ungrateful," one patron said. Others whispered, "Family should stay family." I let it slide. At the hardware store, Laura asked, "How are you holding up?" "Better than ever." That day, I visited a pet shelter, meeting Luna, a 2-year-old lab mix whose family had relocated. She nuzzled my hand, her eyes mirroring my solitude. An hour later, Luna rode shotgun, head out the window. That night, she slept by my bed, easing the quiet. With Luna, I researched RVs, settling on a 22-foot Winnebago. I traded my old sedan and used savings to buy it outright. Luna claimed the co-pilot seat on our test drive. We mapped a route: Great Smoky Mountains, coastal towns, places I'd delayed for others. Leaving Ashwood, I packed light: camping gear, Luna's toys, one album of Emily's childhood photos. Passing Cedar Lane, I saw Daniel and Claire's kids in the yard, the house alive with joy. The highway sign read, "Tennessee, 400 miles." Luna's tail thumped, my hand steady on the wheel. At a Smoky Mountains overlook, I set up a chair as the sun dipped, painting the sky gold and crimson. Luna lay beside me, loyal and content. For the first time in years, I was home.